Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. This is the Richmond Rising Collaborative Stakeholder Committee meeting. We're about to start. Please, if you need to take any food, feel free to do so. We have interpretation in the back. Hola a todas y todas, bienvenidos. Este es el Comité Colaborativo de Richmond Rising. Si alguien necesita audífonos para interpretación, están en la parte de atrás. Nuestra colega Leti está haciendo la interpretación en vivo. Por favor, si necesitan audífonos, están en la parte de atrás. Thanks, everyone. We're starting the meeting for today, and I'm going to go with the roll call. Project lead for Grid Alternatives. Thank you. Project lead for Groundwork Richmond. Hi, Colin. Thank you. Project lead for Rich City Rights. Thank you, Mayeli. Project lead for Trust for Public Land. Hi, Terrence. Thank you. Project lead for UC Berkeley. Hi, Alicia. Thank you. Community member Tomasa Espinosa. Thank you. Gracias. Bienvenida. Community member Juana Espinosa. Juana Hernandez. So sorry. I'm misreading. Okay. Let's just record that Juana Hernandez is not here yet. I think she was coming late, just for everyone's information. Community member Montserrat Gonzalez. Thank you, Montserrat. Community member Judith Rocha. Thank you, Judith. Bienvenida. Community member Curtis Wright. Hi, Curtis. Thank you. I had not seen you. Sorry. Community member Jim Becker. Let's record that community member Jim Becker is not here yet. For everyone who is joining us for the first time, my name is Beatriz Guerrero. I work for the City of Richmond, and we meet in this Collaborative Stakeholder Committee meeting every Wednesday of every first Wednesday of the month from 6 to 8 p.m. You can attend in person and come here to the Nevin Community Center at 5998 Nevin Avenue at Richmond, California. You can also attend virtually. That's the link to our Zoom meeting. And you can also attend through the phone, and those are the numbers that you need to dial to join us. All community members and members of the public must abide by the community agreements. We always have a set of agreements on the table. If you want to also look them up online, you're welcome to do so. We are going to do a land acknowledgement. Oh, I didn't. Urban Till. I was like, I didn't see Chito. I'm so sorry. Let's record, please, that Urban Tilt is here, and I did not call them on the roll call. I apologize for that, Chito. It was not on purpose. We are going to start with our land acknowledgement, and we usually start on this side. So I am going to ask if anyone wants to participate, and I'm going to share the microphone over there. Matias, do you want to start? No? Okay, you're eating, sorry. Judith, Tomasa? You'll pass it? Okay. I don't want to catch anyone with food in their mouth if they don't want to participate.
While Richmond Rising seeks to strengthen the economy, improve public health and the environment, particularly in the Iron Triangle, Santa Fe, and Coronado neighborhoods, we do so with the awareness that we occupy unceded Huichin and Karkin Ohlone territory.
Ya. Reconocemos que el robo de tierras de los territorios indígenas y el desmantelamiento de la soberanía indígena se hicieron para avanzar en la colonización.
We acknowledge that capitalism and white supremacy are branches of colonization that have persisted throughout hundreds of years of oppression and are alive today and contribute to keeping Black, Indigenous, and all other people of color from thriving.
We further acknowledge that this country's political economy and social institutions were built on the forced labor of African people on stolen land through violent, systemic abduction from their homelands and enslavement over hundreds of years.
We further acknowledge the exploitation of immigrant and refugee communities as modern forms of cheap and disposable labor are regularly carried out on stolen land.
Thus, we acknowledge that we have been impacted and harmed by these histories and experiences imposed on our ancestors and communities. We further uplift the shared struggle among Black, Indigenous, and all people of color.
We also acknowledge that Indigenous people continue to live here, steward the land, and resist settler colonialism.
We conclude that our land acknowledgement is an active and evolving statement and process. It requires us to recognize historical injustices and invites us in to be active participants in our collective healing.
Thanks, everyone. For people who are joining for the first time, Richmond Rising, the City of Richmond and 6 local organizations, together known as Richmond Rising, received $35 million to bring health, economic, and environmental benefits to the Iron Triangle, Santa Fe, and Coronado neighborhoods. Richmond Rising is supported by the Strategic Growth Council's Transformative Climate Communities program. Our collaborative stakeholder committee meeting provides guidance on project implementation and holds us accountable in reaching our goals. It can make recommendations, provide input, and assist project leads in implementing project activities. It does not have a final decision-making authority. However, project leads must consider recommendations from the committee and members of the public. And now I'm gonna open public comment, not on the agenda. This is a space for members of the public to provide public comment on items that are not actually in the agenda. Para las personas que nos acompañan, este es un espacio para comentario público que no está incluido en la agenda. Si hay algún comentario que tengan que quieran hacer durante este espacio, está abierta al público. I don't see any hands raised in here. Do we have any hands raised online? Thank you, Matthias. I'm going to continue with the next items in the agenda. 2 weeks ago, we provided the previous meeting agenda and, this meeting's agenda and the minutes from the last meeting. I want to just hear if members had time to review and approve, or if you have any comments on the agendas. And if not, we'll go. Motion to approve from Mayeli. Is there a second? Thank you, Ambessa. So we're approving the previous minutes and agenda that was submitted a couple of weeks ago. Thank you very much for your help reviewing that. And now we're going to go with the project status reports. This is a space where each partner will share up-to-date financials and grant expenditures to date for each project. And this will be shared with the committee and the public. The way that it works is we do the presentation, then there's questions from the committee that is right here in the table, and then we open it up for community members. So I'm going to start with the grantee update, which is the City of Richmond's internal work. And for the work completed since last meeting, we had a CSC meeting. We scheduled, coordinated, and are currently facilitating the CSC meeting number 12. This includes translation, interpretation, refreshments, and childcare. We also submitted invoice number 9. Thank you so much to all the partners for the hard work. We also are submitting invoice number 8 changes. We got responses from the Strategic Growth Council, and we had to make changes to this. And we're currently working on finalizing amendments and modifications. We also heard from the state, and there were some changes, so you might be receiving emails in the next couple of days. We have to submit this before March the 14th, just for everyone to know. We met with all project partners and the Strategic Growth Council and Department of Department of Conservation grant managers, and we met earlier last week with the Mayor's Chief of Staff to talk about TCC projects. We want to share this with you. There was a call from the Mayor's office to have additional information about what TCC is. They want to be more supportive in terms of the outreach. So if there's anything that you can think of that the Mayor's office can help us with, I am opening this to all of you. Matthias and I brought up concerns related to budget, concerns related to supporting us with some of the outreach and the events. We brought up the fruit tree giveaway, and we brought up the Youth Fellows program starting. So we want to see if it's possible for him to join for the graduation or to some of the events, as well as the climate health promoters, just bringing up some of the things that we mentioned. Total expenditures reported up to date, $294,000, and our remaining budget is $399,000. In the next couple of weeks, we are going to create and send the new calendar for invoice number 10. We never get this done when the new cycle is coming, but we are also attending the Reconnecting Communities pilot program grant. This is the federal grant on March 20th. The meeting was rescheduled. We're hoping that it stays on and that this means that the grant is still continuing. So thanks everyone for letting me talk about this project. I am going to bring just some additional conversation about neighborhood complete streets, some updates. Work completed since last meeting. We had an engagement conversation with Pogo Park on the neighborhood complete streets design. As you know, they were supporting us with the engagement and relationship with this project. We continued coordination with partners. We have been working with Richmond Wellness Trail in particular and Trust for Public Land, since these are two projects that are now connected in terms of the funding that will be received hopefully from the Reconnecting Communities pilot program. And we also hosted town hall number 2 at the Richmond College Prep. It was really great. Thank you so much for all the people that attended and all the partners that showed up too. Our total expenditures up to date is $31,000, and our remaining budget is $5.1 million. Just a reminder that this is because as soon as we start construction, most of the budget will be spent, but for now, we're just paying for design in the project. And planned work in the next 2 weeks. We are meeting to discuss federal funding issues and next steps with the Richmond Wellness Trail. We're continuing this for the next 4 weeks. And we are also going to be working on a grant and funding coordination meeting to discuss the scope and plans with the awarded RCP grant. And I'm going to pass the microphone to Terrence with Trust for Public Land.
Good evening. So for the Richmond Wellness Trail, the work completed since the last meeting, continued design development of construction documents, community engagement planning, so logistics coordination and coordination with the climate health promoters. We also did AC transit coordination, so working with the scope of their improvements where it overlaps with our project and intersects, so we can plan some built-in efficiencies. And there's also been some grant and funding coordination, so meeting and discussing scope and plan with the awarded RCP grant and with the City of Richmond. Related to the climate health promoters, I actually just came back from some engagement work that we performed at the schools on the southern end of phase 2. So we did some outreach and surveying with Benito Juarez, Richmond Charter Academy, and John Henry High School just at the end of the phase 2. And we actually have some surveys here too, if anybody wants to do surveys and talk about priorities for the Wellness Trail. Total expenditures reported to date, 217,000, thank you. And remaining budget is 4.59 million. In the next 2 weeks, we plan to continue design community engagement work and project coordination work. And we plan to also begin the next round of community engagement.
Next, we have Electric Bike Lending Library.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mayeli, and I'm here representing the e-bike lending library project on behalf of Rich City Rides. The work completed since last meeting is we participated in the Books and Breakfast event on February 22nd with Urban Tilth. We also participated in the John F. Kennedy's Black History Month Joy event on February 27th. Excuse the typo. John F. Kennedy High School. We registered to 23rd Street Merchants Cinco de Mayo event. I highly recommend you all participate. We created branding for the e-bike lending library, which we will be presenting to you shortly. We also uploaded revised drawings and responses for the second plan review of the e-bike lending library. We also participated and assisted in the Know Your Rights workshop, which Matias and I will be presenting to you guys in a little bit as well. The total expenditures reported to date are approximately $170,000. The remaining budget is $2.2 million. The planned work in the next 2 weeks is we're going to be focusing on on-the-ground engagement. We're going to be gathering community input and feedback in selecting the branding for the e-bike lending library, which we'll also be presenting to you guys shortly.
Thanks, Maya.
Thank you so much. My name is Mbessa Kante from Grid Alternatives. And since our last meeting, the work completed has been we've held the first planning meeting for our summer community TCC event. We conducted outreach at Urban Tilt Senior Garden Day at a senior citizen center. Conducted outreach as well at Iron Triangle Black History Month event, and increased TCC client pipeline by 10. Total expenditures to date are $774,000. Remaining budget, $6.191 million. Planned work in the next 2 weeks, deploying outreach team to continue having to attend 4 partner events per month. And we're creating a TCC video for advertising through KCRT. Thank you.
Now sharing this with Urban Till for updates on basins of relations.
Thank you, and hello, everybody. Chito Floriano here, Director of Farm and Gardens with Urban Tilth, talking and giving an update on our Basins of Relations program, which is our gray water installation program for the project area. Since the last meeting, we've installed 2 drip irrigation systems and 1 laundry to landscape gray water recycling system for Iron Triangle homeowners. We've also completed a native plant nursery work days to grow drought-tolerant plants for future installations. Total expenditures reported to date is $256,000. Remaining in the budget is $1.4 million. Planned work in the next 2 weeks is hopefully beginning installation of our first water catchment system pilot project, helping to educate our staff and refine our methods for this type of installation. Additional drip irrigation and laundry to landscape system installations for Iron Triangle homeowners. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Colin Martin. I'm the Urban Forestry Manager at Groundwork Richmond. Just a small recap of the work that has been completed since our last meeting. We have planted 17 trees since our last meeting. I know it says 12. We got to actually update that to 17. There's been some planted in partnership with the city of Richmond and then some planted for residents. And that takes us to around 120 trees planted residentially so far as a part of the project. Sweet, thanks. So we've also continued to canvass in the designated neighborhoods for tree adoptions. We've had 30 new folks sign up for tree adoptions in February, and a lot of those folks are actually adopting 2, maybe even 3 trees, so that number is higher when you look at the actual tree count. And then we are also ongoing maintenance for planted trees and trees that had been vandalized in a previous planting at Lucas Park. So the tree maintenance, like what that looks like in reality is like, you know, a lot of it is planting, but also a lot of it is follow up with these 100 or so folks. Like, how's that tree doing? You know, is that tree surviving? Is it in decline? You know, does it have disease and things like that? So that's where a lot of our time and effort has been spent this past month. The total expenditures reported to date is $163,499, and the remaining budget is $924,513. $924,513. And then the planned work in the next 2 weeks is we are doing a workforce cohort number 3 graduation ceremony on March 26th for our third workforce development program through CAL FIRE. And then we are also coordinating a planned cleanup for Cesar Chavez Day on March 31st.
It's me again, ADA Accessible Garden update. Not much has happened, but we're moving slowly. So work completed since the last meeting. We were able to submit responses to the city of Richmond on the permitting process. So expenditures to date is 91,000, remaining in the budget 863,000, and hoping to finalize the permitting process and then put the project out to bid within the next 2 weeks. And for Orchard for All, work completed since the last meeting. We interviewed potential Gleaner apprentice applicants. We've also procured our fruit trees for our annual fruit tree giveaway from Planting Justice. Big shout out to Matthias for coming through with that City of Richmond truck. We transported 400 trees from East Oakland to Richmond, so that was pretty cool. We've also onboarded 4 apprentices for our 6-week training program. So they're currently on their 2nd week, about to wrap up the 3rd week, and they'll be there at our fruit tree giveaway this Saturday. Total expenditures reported to date, 151,000, remaining in the budget, roughly about $1 million. And our planned work in the next 2 weeks is to continue conducting our 6-week training program for our apprentices with a graduation date on April 4th. We also will be hosting the annual fruit tree giveaway this Saturday at Unity Park for project area residents. We also will begin our annual report on the training program and our fruit tree giveaway. And we'll also be following up with fruit tree giveaway recipients with on-site consultations. So that's really two requirements in order to get a fruit tree is of course being in the project area, but you now must book a follow-up consultation, kind of similarly to what Colin was saying. Like, we need to be able to verify how these trees are doing. Have they been planted? What's the status of them? How can we support you? And making sure that they're bearing fruit. But yeah, that's for Orchard for All. And for Veggie RX, we've since the last meeting, we've completed, hosted a climate-friendly diet workshop, mushroom taco demo at Lifelong Medical on February 19th. We continued recruitment for May 2025 climate health promoters training. We have 15 spots remaining, so please spread the word for this cohort. We've also began work to streamline CalAIM data tracking with a consultant to increase Veggie RX enrollment. Total expenditures reported to date, 692,000, remaining in the budget about 2.5 million. Planned work in the next 2 weeks is to plan the CFD workshop. CFD stands for Climate Friendly Diet. So planning for the Climate Friendly Diet workshop with fierce advocates on March 20th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. We also will be updating our recipe book that has to do with climate friendly diet with new submissions from community members. And we will be scheduling our climate friendly diet workshops for May and June.
On the e-bike share program, the work that was completed since last week was continued maintenance and operation of the existing bike hubs. We also put out, or better said, today put out a survey for additional location in District 5. This is outside of the project area. However, Rice Today and the city have been in the process of meeting to discuss most recent data and figure out how to connect better all the bike hub stations. Total expenditures reported up to date is $499,000. Remaining budget is $499,000. Planned work in the next 2 weeks is to continue collecting survey responses from the today's survey, and I'm gonna let Salma do the updates of the survey so you can hear a little bit more about it. Thank you, Salma.
Hi, everyone. Quick little update on our District 5 hub survey. For those of you who do not know, I am the community manager for the City of Richmond's electric bike share program, and we currently have a survey for District 5. For those of you who are curious, we can go to the next slide. For those of you who are curious, where is District 5? It is the little piece of the map on the bottom right that is highlighted orange. Some landmarks for you would be Marina Bay, and then it stretches all the way down to the Richmond Annex and the Southwest Annex. Yeah, and that one is in orange. We can go to the next slide. We are surveying for 7 total locations. The first one would be Meeker Slough. The second one is the UC Berkeley Richmond Field Station. The third is Booker T. Anderson Community Center. Fourth, we have Bayview Branch Richmond Public Library. And then we have an entrance to the Bay Trail, which is on South 51st and Channel Ave. And the last 2 would be Costco and Pacific Mall. We are currently surveying for the 7 locations. If you are interested in one of these locations or you would like a bike hub at one of these locations, I strongly suggest that you take this survey. We greatly appreciate it. It is really important for hub connectivity and getting people the resources that they need. Also, getting cars off the street. Come on now. Next slide. Okay, so if you have not yet, please scan this QR code and take the survey. We also have flyers on the table so that you can go ahead and take one of those home and share this with whoever you might know. If you are eager to get a bike hub at somewhere else other than District 5, no worries. We do offer suggestions. So if you would like one near your house, you know, I'm more than happy to listen. I would like to know. So please share your thoughts. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please follow up with me. I'll stay a little bit after the meeting so that you could let me know. And if you live, work, study in the project areas, you do qualify for a free $100 to $80 bike voucher. So you get to ride these bikes completely free and try it out, test it out, see if you like it. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
About our community engagement plan, I'm gonna let Gabby do the updates from Bridge City Rights because she's the one that has the most activity going on. So Gabby, please.
Thank you, everybody. So my name is Gabby. I'm with Rich City Rides, and I'm the Youth Fellow Project Manager. Currently, right now, we're in the hiring process. So far, we've had a total of 18 applicants. Out of those 18 applicants, we have interviewed 16. The remaining 2 either just didn't answer 20 phone calls, texts, or emails. And out of those 16 that we've interviewed, we are going to be offering the youth fellow position to 12. The other remaining 4 applicants, unfortunately, don't live either within the 3 project neighborhoods or a Richmond resident. So we're going to continue to leave those 3 spaces open. For tabling and outreach for the month of February, I tabled at Kennedy High School for their Black History Joy event. And we did delay a little bit of the start of the Youth Fellow program. It was originally set to start on March 1st, but we were figuring out logistics in terms of the Youth Fellow stipend. So we're getting a payment process going right now, and now we're expected to start the program more towards the end of March. Total expenditure reported to date, roughly 232,000, remaining budget 2.3 million. Planned work within the next 2 weeks. This week, we're gonna be sending out offer letters to those 12 applicants. I will also be printing and preparing material for their training sessions. And later this month, in terms of tabling and outreach, I'm going to be tabling at the Because of Youth Festival at the end of the month.
Thanks, Gabby. In relationship to the displacement avoidance plan, the city prepared contracts for city council approval on Blue Dot Open Rewards and the Buy Local Events and Marketing Consultant. Both vendors met with the risk management and the city team to comply with city's insurance requirements. And we also worked on vendor forms, Munis contract entry, which is its internal system for entries in to include contracts with the city, and also other admin tasks for the contract execution. We also onboarding a housing fellow to work on the community land trust policy of the displacement avoidance plan. Our total expenditures reported up to date is $148,000. Remaining budget is $533,000. Plan in the next 2 weeks is to finalize the execution of the contracts with Blue Dot Open Rewards. This is for the Buy Local campaign and the Buy Local events and marketing consultant. For the Workforce Development and Economic Opportunity Plan, I'm gonna let Grid Alternatives, Alex, to talk about the reports. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Alex. I work for Grid Alternatives. And most of our updates in the last month are related to recruiting because we are actively recruiting for our solar training program. So most of our work done in the last month is related to that. We created a few posts on social media. We posted in our general newsletter, and we also made a new page on our website specifically to recruit for the solar training program. And then we also continued preparing for the solar training program, including building out of our training space and purchasing materials. We also did a flyer drop last week at like 6 or 7 orgs in Richmond. So if you saw us, it was my fellow. So glad that you met him. And we also went to a few city buildings. Planned work in the next 2 weeks is essentially continue to recruit. We're actively recruiting right now. It is a paid program. It's 5 weeks long and it pays at $18 an hour. Also, if your organization is interested in us coming to you for an info session, let me know because we can do that as well. And if you know anyone that's interested, please reach out to me, or you can sign up online on the TCC website or on our organization's website. Also, it's not on here, but we started talking to Mateus about us and the Resilient Homes program collaborating to do some marketing materials for KCRT. So that's in process.
Thanks, Alex. For the indicator tracking plan, I'm gonna let Alice talk about what UC Berkeley has for you.
Hi, everyone. Buenas tardes a todos. My name is Alice. I'm with the UC Berkeley team. Since the last meeting, we received feedback from the city of Richmond. Thank you on year 1 evaluation report. We've been revising it and started implementing the feedback. We also worked on drafting a new invoicing package with revised documentation, which means that hopefully by next meeting, we'll have an update on our budget. And in the next 2 weeks, we're hoping to complete the revisions on the year 1 report. And we were planning on starting to map out the work that needs to be done in order for a year 2 evaluation report to be completed, including data collection and CARB reporting methodologies.
Thanks, everyone, for the updates. And I'm going to open to the committee if there are any community questions or comments that you receive, including responses. And if you have any questions in relationship to the updates that were given today.
Hey, everybody, Jim Becker from the Richmond Community Foundation. So I actually have a question for our colleagues at Groundwork Richmond. In the Los Deltas project site in North Richmond, there's a number of nonprofits, ours included, who've received 5 of those properties to rebuild and turn into low-income home ownership opportunities. And on at least one of the sites, the city planning wants us to put some trees in. So is that a possibility? And if so, can that be done for this kind of project? Would that fit in with the scope of the project? And whatever your response is, I'll bring it back to the 5 developer partners and let them know.
Trying to make sure I heard the first part correctly. You're redeveloping some housing in North Richmond. Is it in the project area of the that? I guess that'd be the first question. Okay. So if it is, I feel like that's like the first hurdle of like understanding, and then if it is, we can like discuss on like what the yeah.
Actually, it might be just the other side of the northwest line.
Okay. All right, cool. So, I mean, and I'm down to like, yeah, we can talk about it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking it's probably. Yeah, so I'm actually, now that I asked that, I'm realizing it's probably right in here. So it's probably just outside the project area. Okay. But let's talk anyway. And yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions, comments that you want to provide within the committee? Yeah. Okay. Tomasa.
Yo tengo un comentario. Para la encuesta que están haciendo para Richmond Wellness Trail, tal vez tendrán un código QR que puedan compartir para que lo pueda compartir con la comunidad.
Thomas, I was mentioning if there's any QR code for the survey that you guys are working on, and if we can share it that with her for the community. I can get it. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's on the it's on the flyers. So we have
This one.
yeah, English and Spanish.
There's more than one. For everyone else, we have more flyers over there. You can take them and you can share the survey with your friends, family, neighbors. We're interested in everyone's responses. This is a project area project, but we are interested on everyone's feedback. So feel free to share it with anyone else. Okay, any more questions, comments in relationship to the updates? No, está bien.
Ya. Ay, disculpa, pero Colin dijo que estuvieron plantando árboles. ¿Los están plantando en el área de Richmond Parkway?
Yeah, so the trees that I was mentioning for this project are not in the Richmond Parkway area, but Groundwork Richmond outside of this grant also plants trees for separate projects, and one of them is on the Richmond Parkway. And it's a project called Tree Fence, which is funded by the California Natural Resources Council, I believe is the acronym. And it's 3 zones along the Richmond Parkway planted with specifically evergreen trees to try to create a fence line to somewhat stop the pollutants that are coming from the BNSF rail yard and Chevron oil refinery that are downwind from the Iron Triangle. So that's a separate project from this one, but it is our work, and I'm glad that you saw it. Yeah.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Tomasa. Any more comments, questions from the committee? Not hearing any, so I'm going to open it to the public. Are there any questions, comments from the public? ¿Hay preguntas o comentarios del público? I'm not seeing any hands. Do we have any comments or hands raised on the Zoom meeting? Okay, we're going to go with the next items on the agenda. So our committee selected the following items for discussion today. So we have 5 items: Youth Fellows update and project management planning, and project engagement planning, the e-bike lending library logo review and CSE recommendation, neighborhood complete streets update, Richmond Wellness Trail survey presentation, and a Know Your Rights training that Matias and Mayeli are going to be providing to us. So I am going to share the microphone with Gabby from Rich City Rights.
Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Gabby, and I'm the Richmond Rising Youth Fellow Project Manager. So like I mentioned during the update a little bit earlier, we still have 3 open positions for the Youth Fellow program. And so with that being said, please continue to share the flyer with friends, family. If you have kids that are in that age range, please take them to their school. The flyers are right here. They're on the table back here. They look just like this. It's in English and in Spanish. And then just as a reminder of the requirements, they do have to be between the ages of 16 and 24 years old, and they have to live either within the 3 project neighborhoods that we currently work with, which is Santa Fe, Coronado, and the Iron Triangle, or be a Richmond resident. Again, I'm still actively recruiting. We're willing to onboard a little bit later, and we do want to be able to fill in those 3 spots for a total of 15 youth fellows. Lastly, I did want to talk a little bit about a request form, and this section is primarily more for our partners and our project leads. As we're onboarding youth fellows and as we are set to have them next month, I do want you guys to start thinking about different ways to involve our youth fellows in the Richmond Rising projects that you guys are currently working on. And so try to think about what you have going on starting like mid-April and on. So this means that, the youth fellows will get the opportunity to either be involved with your outreach efforts, which is a primary portion of the community engagement plan, or to be part of what you're currently working on. Something that I do want you to keep in mind when you are making the request for the youth fellows is that you are requesting them in alignment with your Richmond Rising project per our TCC guidelines. So when you are requesting them, they should be doing TCC stuff. So just keep that in mind when you are requesting them. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So what are some things that you can request the youth fellows for? So again, they're part of our community engagement plan. So any outreach, tabling assistance, assisting you at a station during an event, assisting you during a bike ride or help hosting a bike ride, doing resident interviews, or I hear a lot of you guys are doing surveys, so our youth fellows can help you collect surveys as well. Assistance with social media posts. We know that youth have a lot of experience with that and what's trending in the engagement. So if I know that Rich City Rise, we got to work on our engagement also on our social media. So I'm pretty sure everybody else does as well. So definitely use our youth fellows. And then attending any community meeting or town hall. So these are some of the things that our youth fellows will be available for. When you do get the form, and some other things that you should just keep in mind is how many youth fellows you will need. Will there be a dress code that they will need to follow? Are there any materials that they would need to bring? Will there be any snacks or lunch provided for them? Again, majority of them are underage, so we do need to make sure that they are being fed. Will there be any transportation provided? The youth fellows will have an AC Transit bus pass, but if you do need them to go to a location that's not within the vicinity, will there be any transportation provided, given that many of them don't drive yet? And what will the duties and responsibilities of the youth fellows be? So just kind of keep these questions in mind and definitely start thinking and planning with your team about different ways to get them involved and utilize them, because that's what they will be here for, to assist all of you in continuing to share your projects. Now, when will you be expecting to receive this form? I'm going to be sharing it at our next CSC meeting, and hopefully by then you will also get to meet our youth fellows. Are there any questions? Yes.
Hi. How long are the fellows working on the projects that they're assigned to? Is there like an hours requirement?
So the youth fellows do have like certain deliverables that they have to meet, and the cycle is a year. So within that year, they have to meet certain deliverables, and those deliverables are the things that you guys can request them for. So you guys will be helping them, in a sense, meet those deliverables. They do only are able to work up to 10 hours a month. So that's just something to keep in mind when you are requesting them, that if you do need them something more consistent or long-term, they are only able to do 10 hours a month, just due to the budget. Yeah. Any other questions?
In additional to what Gabby brought up, I would invite you to create opportunities for them that sound exciting, so people are willing to stay in this work of line, to make them interested in green jobs, make them interested on staying on this line of work, because I think that is the purpose of this program. And Gabby is doing a fantastic job preparing all the training for them. So they're going to have a lot of information and a lot of things ready to work with you. And I invite community members to also identify opportunities if they're in the project area and they're connecting to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Let us know. We'll be open to also have other collaborations with community members. Just keep us posted and keep it in the project area, because otherwise we cannot make it happen.
And just as a last comment, just something to keep in mind, because we are working with youth, we don't technically work at a school, but I do believe, especially as project leads or partners, it is important to get our CPR certification, especially because we are going to be working with children. I currently have mine set to expire in January, but we're looking at different ways of renewing. So I can also give you guys information on some quotes that I've gotten if you are interested in getting your CPR certification, because it's very important. That's it.
I saw someone wanting to ask a question. And Bessa, did you want to ask a question? No? Oh, sorry. I saw you. Are there any more questions for Gabby? Okay. We're going to go to the next item, and this is the e-bike lending library logo. So I'm going to give the microphone to Carlos. Thank you, Carlos, for being here.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. My name is Carlos. I'm the new outreach manager for Rich City Rides. My first time here. Happy to be a part of this group. Thank you. Really proud of all the work that we're doing as a coalition, if you will, and really proud of the e-bike work that we're all doing as well. Getting bikes off of cars. Getting cars off a street. And what you see here is basically a summary of a long line of work trying to figure out a new brand for this e-bike lending library. We started out with about 30 different logos, and Mayeli, Najari, and I were able to get together, narrow down to 3. And thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Lots of arguments, if you will. And what you're looking at is also kind of a battle, a mini battle of old school versus new school. I say old school because our logo originally, the Rich City logo, is all surrounded by these big blocky lines. And as an organization, we love to see our logo out there, and we kind of want to keep it uniform in a way, right? So the 2 logos on the left, the top one is in my idea, a very classic, classy, simple, to the point logo that stays true to our organization's logo. And then the one in the bottom, you start to see a little bit more color, which is different, right? You see a battery in the eye, which is signifies, e-bike charging and all of that. And then the new school to the right is very much a bike wheel with the spoke in the middle of it, or a gear in the middle of it, the lightning bolt, and the established date. So what we've done is narrowed down, like I said, from 30, 24 of which I designed on my own, and got it down to 3 so that we can bring in the community now and ready for that point. Can we go to the next slide? So we have a QR code. We'd love to get the community's vote on the logo. And so if you can scan this, it'll take you to our little poll. Our idea is also now we're going to start polling the community. So we've planned to get out into the street. We're printing poster board size of each of these logos. And we're gonna have dots and just have the community vote on which one they choose, which one they prefer. So yes, if you can all cast your vote, that'd be great. And that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Do we have any deadline for the voting?
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as possible. No deadline set, but we want to get it by the end of this month if possible.
Thank you. In relationship to our Neighborhood Complete Streets project, we didn't get our engineering team to come, but I'm going to share with you what has happened in the last few weeks. As I mentioned on the beginning, we had a Neighborhood Complete Streets town hall. This town hall was hosted at the Richmond College Prep. This information the things that we would share with the community was a huge map of the project area, specifically Harbor Way, where the project is happening. And we got input from community members. The input is going to be processed, and we're creating a new set of plans. This new set of plans is the third version that we create based on the input of community, and it did change a lot for the ones who attended this town hall. You should have seen a fair amount of changes, and then on the third round of plans, you're going to see another big change. Big changes in the plan. So we are in the process of organizing a third town hall where community members and partners can see the next phase of the plans. And after this, we're going to move forward with the 65% plans. This is 35% plans. We're going to move forward with 65%. So for anyone who wants to see how the last set of plans of the project are going to be updated, please join us on our third town hall. We don't know date or location, but we'll keep you posted. This work takes a little while, so we're processing the comments from community members and trying to adjust the plans based on that. So we appreciate you joining us, and we hope that the new plans get a better reception from community. The other thing that we want to say is the purpose of this grant is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And we heard a fair amount of comments from community members saying that they're concerned about the safety of the streets. We are trying to focus on schools. Basically, that area has 3 schools that are particularly concerned about kids' safety, and we're taking that into account very seriously. And additional to that, we heard comments from other residents who are concerned about the traffic in the area. So we talked to the planning team, the public works team, and they're trying to figure out if they can put additional budget to figure out the traffic lights to be more efficient and coordinated. This is not part of the TCC grant. I want to clarify. This is just because we heard from community members, and we want to honor that this is a collaborative design project, and we really appreciate the help of the community to work on this. But we also want to say that there's different plans going on, and we're going to do some of them first and then maybe come to a second phase of it once we get enough funding for that. That is in the process for City Council's approval, so we can complete that project in a way that benefits literally everyone. That means pedestrians and cyclists, as well as people who are driving. Even though we're going to be slowing down your speed, not for any reasons but safety, we also want to acknowledge that some of the traffic lights are not coordinated, and that also creates additional emissions in the area, and we want to support that. Just wanted to bring this update to the community and the team. And I want to open it up to see if there's any questions. We didn't bring maps because there's no updates. We just wanted to give you this update. Okay, well, if there's no comments or questions, I will give the microphone to Trust for Public Land because I know they have some updates in relationship to their survey.
Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. So I'm Terrence with Trust for Public Land. We actually just did a round of surveying, like I mentioned earlier, at the schools on the southern end of Marina Way South by just the shoreline. And so today I have English and Spanish surveys that talk about the elements of the project, along with a QR code to a survey on the back. It just talks a little bit about this, what the project's going to be and what kind of priorities folks would like to, I guess, see in the project. We also asked some questions about wayfinding, art, and colors for just what the project might look like. And if you would like to fill out the survey today, I actually have a paper version that I will collect from you all. But if not, please take a flyer.
And just to clarify for folks who are not familiar with the two projects, this is the Neighborhood Complete Streets project. It's Ohio Avenue and Harbor Way. And the project that Terrence was talking about is Marina Way South. So these are the two projects that we are working on. And there's currently activity going on that you can participate on and feedback that you can provide. So thank you, Terrence, for the update. And last but not least, we talked last time on our CSC meeting about how can we support community members in relationship to knowing their rights, particularly focusing on interactions with ICE. And you heard from us that we have printed versions of the red cards in the table. You're welcome to take as many as you need. We're happy to provide you with more if there's an additional need that you have for a training or for any type of activity that you want. We're happy to provide them. And I'm going to give the microphone to Mayeli and Matias, who put together this training for all of us so we can share this information with the community.
Hello, everyone. Like Miley said, we attended a training a month ago or so by Reimagine Richmond, who is hosting lots of Know Your Rights trainings and has been for many years, but is doing more now throughout the city and area. Highly recommend attending those if you can. There's more information on their website and we can connect you to. But what we're going to do today is just kind of present a basic version of the training so that you're aware of what your rights are, the rights of everyone who lives here, and also explain some of the kind of issues and how talk a little bit about how that might challenge some of your projects. So, like I said, the purpose of the training is to understand constitutional rights for everyone who lives in the city, regardless of immigration status. Also, to understand the legal requirements for ICE as they do their job, and also to understand the availability of support in the neighborhood. I mentioned Reimagine Richmond, and then we'll also have some other resources, some of which have been emailed out already with our listserv, but there's more every day. So just one other note before we go on. This is not a legal advice for any specific case. This is general advice. If you have an immigration status case, or you know someone who does, they should talk to their lawyer. But this is kind of generally accepted. I mean, these are definitely all correct, but this is broad and not specifically applicable to any case. Next slide, please. So yeah, just obviously everyone knows, but we'll talk a little bit about some of what's happening right now. Obviously, the federal administration is seeking to deport a lot of people right now. A lot of that comes through reduction or termination of temporary protected status, which is sort of like asylum, if we're kind of broadly speaking, as we colloquially understand the term, and also targeting sanctuary cities like the city of Richmond by withholding funding and also increasing enforcement in ways that try to make the cities comply, or even more than comply, support actively the immigration enforcement efforts. Next slide, please. However, the state of California has a law that was signed in 2017 that makes it illegal for any agency to assist directly with immigration enforcement, except for in cases of serious, where the person has also been convicted of serious crimes. This mostly restricts access to local jails and makes it illegal to detain, what's the word? They're basically like an extended detention where they would essentially, the local jail would hold the person for longer than otherwise required by the law in order to make time for ICE to get there. That is illegal in the state of California. Not saying it doesn't happen, but it isn't in compliance with this law. Next slide. Also, the city of Richmond, like I mentioned, we're a sanctuary city, which means in our case that we, none of our agencies, departments, et cetera, or the people that we contract, which is everyone here, all the project leads here, and any other contractor, it's prohibited, and everyone signs a document that says they do not and will not share data with ICE. And then just a couple like recent things that happened. Police department is included in the sanctuary city policy. They released a statement last month saying they do not, will not share data with ICE. They're actually hosting and supporting groups, Reimagine Richmond actually specifically in hosting Know Your Rights workshops. So they're definitely, they know the law, which they are complying with and supportive of. And then last night, the city council approved and appropriated $1 million for to be determined consultants, essentially to provide legal resources. So things like Know Your Rights workshops and other kinds of work. So that was just last night, fresh off the press. But yeah, so we as a city, and I would say as Richmond Rising overall, this is like a really big issue to us. So that's why we're doing this training. Beatrice and I are working in multiple ways inside of the city, and we're happy to work with anyone here if they are working on something that they need help with to advance protections and understanding of how to be protective of our community. Next slide. Okay, so that's kind of the intro. Now we're gonna sort of start. Some of this we're gonna repeat because repetition is the father of learning. So just bear with us. But anyways, despite all those laws that I talked about earlier about making it hard, ICE can still be here legally. Not to say that we would want them to be here or support them, but they can be here, and so that's why we want everyone to know what their rights are in the case of an interaction with ICE. Next slide, please. As I said before, everyone has rights irrespective of your immigration status. That's super important. So everything we say applies to anyone. It truly doesn't matter your status. They're very basic, fundamental constitutional rights. They also apply in the case of police interactions. But of course, in this case, we're talking specifically about ICE. Next slide. I'm gonna pass it to Mayeli now, who's gonna kind of start breaking things down.
So 2 ways that ICE can enter your home is with a valid warrant signed by a judge with your permission. And I just want to emphasize permission is you opening the door, twisting it, and the latch becoming undone from the door itself. The moment the door moves, that is you giving ICE agents permission to enter your home. So do not open the door. Because again, this is constructed as permission to enter. Always ask for identification. Officers are required to identify themselves. They do not always wear their ICE uniforms. They can come in to your property with regular clothes. It is important to educate our elderly and our children to not open the door under any circumstances. Ask to see a warrant. Ask the agents to slide the warrant under the door if possible. And again, we're going to reemphasize this over and over. Do not open the door. And you have the right to remain silent.
Next slide. Next slide. Like we said, you do not have to open the door, and you do have a right to see the warrant before you open the door. Warrant, piece of paper, signed by a judge. That's a very important part. If it's not signed by a judge, it's not a valid warrant. Another thing to be aware of is that the document is actually a warrant. Sometimes ICE officers are known to show you a signed formal document that is not a warrant, and that document does not allow them to come into your home. And the warrant will include, amongst other things, the specific areas of your house that they're allowed to search. So it would literally say like living room, garage, etc. So that's another thing to look for when you're doing this. There are some challenges. Next slide, please. To not opening the door and also looking for a warrant because you wouldn't be able, it would be hard to see the warrant if they're on the other side of the door. So some recommendations are ask them to slide the warrant underneath the door. That is totally allowable. And so however, not all doors can have pieces of paper slid underneath them. Some other options are you can use a window. If you have a window near your door, they can hold it up and you can look at it. Again, you're looking to make sure it's a warrant and that it's signed by a judge. You can't really tell if it's a judge or not, but if it's signed where a judge should sign, that's a signature. Another thing you can do is ask them to show it through the peephole, which again is hard, but that's something that we recommend.
It's also important to note that ICE agents do lie to try and get you to come out or open the door. They will tell you that they're there to see so-and-so because that's their friend. Don't fall for it. Always ask them to identify themselves. They, again, don't always have to wear their uniforms. There's no law that says that they have to put on an ICE uniform to have them identify themselves once they approach your property. It's really important to remain silent, ask for a valid search warrant, and of course, ask for an attorney.
That being said, if they do enter your property without a warrant, essentially illegally, that's when you should start recording everything, badge numbers, names, and be clear that you don't consent to them being there, you don't consent to a search. Write down any phone numbers of anyone who may have witnessed it. If there's someone else in the home that can attest that you did not consent to them being in the home, you can use your phone to record. And then another thing is to ask for a receipt of any items that are taken from the house. Next slide. What do we say?
If you are in the street or in a public area, it is. I already read that one. Oh, okay, well, I'll read this again. Remain silent, ask for a valid search warrant, and ask for an attorney. You have rights. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you are in the street or are in a public area, it is important to not run away. Before saying anything, ask, am I free to go? You have the right to remain silent. If searched, say, I do not consent to this search. You are allowed to record the interaction. We are protected within our rights to record an altercation with ICE, but it is important not to intervene. It is important to let the ICE agents do their job. It is important also to know when not to interfere. Another thing that is recommended that's not on here is we highly recommend, well, we don't, but it's not recommended that you carry an ID on your person that states that you are a citizen of another country. You will be arrested and detained.
Next slide. Next slide. So, like we said, if they stop you on the street, they do not have a warrant, they cannot arrest you unless they know that you are a non-citizen, which they would know if you told them or if you gave them any information about your status. That's why it's important not to speak and refuse a search. Like Mayeli said, do not carry any documents from your country of origin or false documents, and don't say anything about your immigration status, even if it's pending and you're here legally. It's recommended not to say anything and let a lawyer do that later. You don't want anything being misconstrued. And if you do have valid immigration documents, you should show them at that time. That is a great time to show them. Next slide.
If you're stopped in a vehicle, if local enforcement stops you, for example, police or state highway patrol, the driver must show their driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance upon request. Immigration status documentation is not required. If ICE stops you, drivers and passengers have the right to remain silent. You can tell ICE you are using your Fifth Amendment and right to remain silent, and if you are free to leave. People should never provide information about immigration status. You can also hold your red card in the window and additional information in the subsequent slides. How you can tell the difference between local law enforcement and ICE, you have to ask. Local enforcement should identify themselves as such. ICE will often be in plain clothes, not in uniform, but may be wearing some clothing that states ICE or ICE police, and may not identify themselves as ICE.
If you are arrested, a couple steps. First, know who arrested you. So write down the officers' names, numbers, and their agency, including license plate numbers. That should all be kind of on their badge or vest, as well as their vehicle. Don't sign any documents before speaking with a lawyer. You have the right to speak with a lawyer before doing anything. No matter, again, your immigration status, this is a constitutional right. They may try to intimidate you or coerce you, but again, you don't have to sign anything before speaking with a lawyer. Now you should also contact both an attorney and your family members or whoever will make decisions for you if you are to be arrested, as they may need to make decisions for you. And make a plan, including plans for your family members, especially elderly and youth, and again, designate someone to make decisions. And we're now going to talk a little bit more about what kind of planning would be good to do beforehand.
Okay, so it's really important to take action now and make sure that everyone in your family knows their rights. You have to memorize important information, get screened for immigration options, work with your family to make a plan, make copies of all immigration and other important documents, save money, and remain vigilant.
Next slide.
I can read it. Okay. Talk to an immigration service provider about your immigration options. If you have a green card, find out if you can become a U.S. citizen. If you are here on a visa, find out if you can get a green card. If you do not have an immigration status, find out if you may be eligible for a visa or work permit. If you have a criminal arrest or conviction, find out how it might affect your case or if there is any way to remove it from your record. Be aware of notary fraud.
Yeah, with the notary fraud, there are unfortunately certain businesses who will tell you, it comes from the translation of the word notary in Spanish, I guess in Mexico, but in maybe other Spanish-speaking countries. It refers to someone with legal capacity, but in America, a notary does not have legal capacity. So just know that when you're trying to work on your documents, that in the United States, a notary does not actually have any legal capacity. There are some businesses that will tell you that they do. But again, a notary is not a legal agency in the United States. I'm going to talk a little bit about these red cards that we have. There's a bunch of them on the table. Take as many as you want, hand them out, et cetera, and we have more and can make more. Some of you may know what these are, but just kind of an overview. On one side, it has a lot of what we just talked about, kind of some of the most important parts about your rights. And on the other side, it has basically a statement to the officers. So you actually literally can just hand this to them. You don't have to say anything. It says things like, I do not wish to speak with you, answer your questions, or sign or hand any documents based on my Fifth Amendment, ... I do not give you permission to enter my house based on my Fourth Amendment, ... etc. So you can literally hand this, you can put this in the window. If you don't want to open the door, you can slide it under the door. This is also really useful for people who have limited English, because it says everything very clearly, also cites the specific constitutional amendments that provide the protections that we're talking about. So these are awesome. Like I said, we got some there. We can make a lot more if needed. We've been giving them out at libraries and other places, so hopefully you're seeing them around and available, but we're definitely working to get those out there. Yeah, So this next slide, please. This is just kind of an example of like how minimal the engagement has to be. You want to act this out? Okay. I'll be the ISOC. Yeah, that's fucked up. Sorry. Oh, oh man. Hey, where are you from? Where were you born?
I have the right to remain silent.
Where's your ID?
I have the right to remain.
No, you have to answer my questions. I'm a police officer in this city.
I have the right to remain silent.
You're going to have big problems if you don't answer my questions.
I have the right to remain silent. Am I free to leave now?
So that's pretty much the most you need to say to them. You can also just hand them the card. With that, we have a couple additional resources, a lot of hyperlinks. So these are in the slides for anyone who wants. We do post our slides online. We can email these out. I've emailed a lot of these out. Yeah, maybe I won't name all of them. There are hotlines. If you see ICE enforcement in your neighborhood, you can call these hotlines. It's important to validate, so don't just start posting on the internet that you saw them and they're doing stuff. Be sure that they are actually ICE and that they're actually carrying out an action. These hotlines don't want you to call and say, I saw them at the Dunkin' Donuts, they're eating right now, because that's a serious thing. That's not helpful to anyone, so just as you know. But that's why we call these hotlines, and they have people to answer and kind of sort through the reports, because they're essentially validating. There's a bunch of other resources on here, more about kind of what we talked about, and then some specific ones for providers like school providers, homeless care providers, hospitals, et cetera. And there's also a tracking website. Things are changing really fast, as we all know, so it's important to be aware. We're on a weekly call right now. That's really great. I guess it's on Wednesdays because I just was there today. It's an hour long. It's awesome. There's lawyers that are breaking down the most updated information on what's happening right now. Like, things are changing really fast. And so this is just kind of a list of the changes that have happened. And then also, if you want, I can give you information about this weekly call where kind of more information, cutting edge stuff is coming out, which also includes good news. A couple things that are coming out. One, maybe some of you have seen this, but the czar of immigration has expressed frustration about how educated people are and how that's helping them evade arrest. That's exactly right. So it does work to be educated. And know your rights. That's really why this is important. Some other good news. Recently, a group of churches filed a lawsuit and won a detaining order on the lifting of protected spaces. I'm not sure how many are aware, but previously certain areas like schools and churches were protected and ICE could not enforce actions there. Currently, that's not the case, and now they can enforce actions there. However, there were a group of churches who did sue and essentially won. That being said, that's only for those churches, but it's an important kind of like milestone. Yeah, and will definitely set some important precedent going forward. So that was a big news item of today's meeting. So I recommend attending this because it's important and also can be uplifting. There's thousands of people there, all doing good work. And there's one more page with more. Oh, the last one is a local organization. You need a next slide. Sorry. Stand Together is an organization in Contra Costa County that's providing resources to people. I think that they're doing case management of kind of like a high level sort. They do have lawyers, but I don't know if they have capacity to do individual case management right now, but they're definitely connecting people with more resources. They also manage things like the hotlines and such. So another great resource here. They have people on the phones, not 24 hours a day, but certainly very often. And their website, of course, is there as well. One other great resource that we actually didn't mention. The city of Richmond has a program for people who live in the city of Richmond. Regardless of immigration status, you can get a Richmond ID. And that Richmond ID will be it's a legal form of ID for a lot of services. So you can apply to that. It's totally free of charge at City Hall. And you do have to be a resident of Richmond and have some proof of residency. But that is a great way to have something that, shows who you are but doesn't state anything about your status. Any questions? Gabby?
Do you know if other local cities do that too for that ID?
Yes, Ambessa.
Oh, you want to answer the question on the mic?
Sorry. Yes, Oakland, Sacramento, and San Francisco do.
Thank you. In the case of the warrants, if they do have one, do you know certain pertinent information like a particular name or a particular address need to be on that warrant to make it legal or not?
The address does have to be on the warrant. I don't know about the name. I'm not sure about that. I would. I don't want to. I don't know. But definitely the address if they're going to enter that home.
So I just want to add something to this as well, because in a lot of Richmond homes, there are solid core doors and there's no peephole or there's no looking out of the door. So one of the things that's being recommended is, if you can, install one, put in a peephole, or even better, put in a locking screen door. So if you open your door, the screen door is still locked. That is not permission. From what we've learned, that's not permission to enter. Or use a window. That's the other option. A window? Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and a lot of people. I mean, it's not intuitive all that opening the door is permission to enter. So that's an important thing for people to be aware of.
Silly, but can you clarify if you say you can't see the warrant and it was legit and you do not allow them to come in, then what?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, and I can't tell you because I don't know. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Does anyone know the answer to that? If they have a warrant and you don't let them in, if they have a valid warrant, a valid warrant. No, it is I think it's a good question. Oh. Okay, yeah, I'll just say it on the mic. Yeah, Chito says that what he's heard is that if you don't open the door and it is a valid warrant, that's an additional crime, and um, it
So, sorry. So if they do have a valid warrant, the person, if it was me, if I was to be the person that ICE wanted to apprehend, I would walk out of my house and tell them they do not have permission to enter.
One of the things that we learned at Stand Together is that I sometimes takes the letters from the mail to get the name of the person, and then they they can get one of the letters and somebody from ICE will sign it. For that reason, it's important that we make sure that that the letter is signed by the judge, that the warrant is signed by the judge, not just anybody. They also said the minute the person walks out, they have access to enter the house. If there is a person and that person opens the door and gets out, they are allowed to go inside the house.
If you think there are more questions that we need to like ask to people who are experts. We're happy to invite someone who's an expert on this. Mayeli and Matias volunteered their time to actually attend the trainers training. So we're happy to go further, or please send us your questions and we'll make sure that we can support you. We have samples of subpoenas and warrants. If this is useful to you, we can share that information with you because the city has protocol for us to yeah, so we're happy to share with you any information that you want. And if we don't have it or we don't know it, we're happy to do that research for you. Just let us know. Feel free to email us or to call us and we'll be happy to support you with that.
The resources that you have in there, there is one that's really good because in there you can see how you can create an action plan, and it's in English and in Spanish. And in there, parents can fill out a form to authorize somebody to pick up their children from school in case they are not able to do it because they are detained.
Please feel free to email or send us questions to us or just call us and let us know if we can support you. Okay, there's more questions. 1 second.
Can we find this on your website and then can we share it widely as we wish? Yeah.
We can definitely post it. We'll do that for sure. Any other questions from the public? Okay, thanks everyone for the Chito.
All of these slides, right, are uploaded onto the Richmond Rising website along with the agenda and meeting minutes, right? Those are all public for the public.
And the video, and they're translated in Spanish.
Thanks for that question, Chito. This is the last item on our agenda, and so now we're opening for agenda requests for our next meeting. Thank you, Mayeli, and thank you, Matias. Great job. This is for committee members. Is there any item that you would like to present on next meeting?
Thanks. So one of the things, if the committee agrees, that I'd like to put forward is to have a presentation from the folks who are building the EV car sharing hubs in the same neighborhood, because I think there's probably potentially good alignment with both the EV bikes and the hubs, as well as some of the other projects. And I realize it's not specific to this project, but it's probably in good alignment with and could be pretty interesting. And how cool if both sides could place some of the vehicles and the bikes in some of the same locations. So just putting that out there. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Just to clarify, that would be the e-bike share system and the e-bike lending library and the Richmond Foundation, Richmond Community Foundation? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Salma, do you want to respond to that?
Whoever is the project lead for that, I'm more than happy to connect and we can work something out. We definitely need more hubs out in the field, so yes, please.
Okay, well, we'll let you coordinate internally and then there's a space for you for sure. We'll include you on the next agenda. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you. I would like to add for the next meeting, if we could provide just a report back on our fruit tree giveaway. I know we usually have deliverables and we submit those with the invoices, but would love to, yeah, highlight that in the next meeting, yeah, and report back on how that went.
For sure, we'll definitely include that item. Yeah.
I would like to bring the youth fellows to present them to you guys. So, and I would also like to share the actual form for you guys to start requesting them. So,
I just thought of this, and I know we emailed them out to the Richmond, the TCC partners, but I feel like it'd be cool to have a slide that has any upcoming events that any organizations are doing, just so that we remember and also so the public knows about them.
We can certainly add that for every monthly event. Thank you. Any other requests, questions for next agenda meeting, next meeting for next meeting agenda? Okay, hearing that we don't have additional requests, I'm gonna open for general announcements. And I know we have Rebecca, who was gonna join us today from University of California, San Francisco. Is that accurate? I'm gonna share the microphone with her because she's waiting patiently.
Hello, everyone. Hello. My name's Rebecca. I'm from UCSF. It's very nice to see you all here tonight, and I'm glad I was able to come in person. I'm sharing some current work that we're doing. I recognize that a lot of people have a lot of survey burden, so I'm sorry to share another survey, but I'm working with a group that across the UCs that on climate, health, and equity. And we are exploring what community organizations and government agencies across the 9 counties of the Bay Area are doing in response to wildfire smoke and extreme heat events in their community. So we are looking to connect with groups that are at the intersection of climate change and health, to understand more about the specific actions that you do to respond to the smoke and heat events, and understand also what the barriers are to some of your work and where you would like to improve some of your work moving forward. All the results of this work are going to be shared across all of our communities and groups that we've been working with. And the end goal is so that we report straight back to the state so that they can improve their actions moving forward to provide more support to communities in future funding and budgeting. So I'll be staying after the meeting to set up times to talk or get my contact information so I can send you the survey. We recognize survey burden, so I also am offering to just set up a quick 30-minute meeting one-on-one over Zoom, in person, whatever you prefer, just to talk through some of the work that you do, because I would love to hear more about it. It was great to hear it tonight, and that can count as you filling out a survey. So please come up to me if you're interested. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna open now for general announcements from anyone in the committee team or anyone else from the public.
Hi, I'm just trying to embarrass my daughter. Um, some of you know me as a very active promoter of all things Richmond and Richmond Rising. And it occurred to me as I was here tonight, and I've shared visions or versions of my vision with some of you in the room, but there's a little small part that I think could be interesting for Colin, and I forgot your name, but with the Youth Fellowship Program. And it's rewilding landscapes. And essentially, it's basically, you would connect with an organization, maybe East Bay Regional Parks. Fellows would help rewild landscapes in the project area by virtue of getting tree stumps and mulch and compost. And I've done it in my own yard, so I could tell you all about it. It's super fun, holds more water. And then you could also roll in there maybe a little foodscaping and just have something that would be complementary to everything Urban Tilth is doing, what you're doing with trees. Get outside, get them plugged in. Anyway, I could talk for hours, so look me up or I'll connect later.
Thank you. Anyone else? Announcements? Oh, yeah, Curtis.
Hi, I'm Curtis, and I just want to speak briefly. I know we're on a time constraint here, but I read this article, and I think that it might be interesting to all of us simply because we are representing the families and individuals that's in the Richmond Rising communities. I'm going to also say that I would like to speak with Grid Alternative about this. And this is what I'm about to talk about is cutting edge innovations, which I think that all of us should be somewhat familiar with, especially if it's climate friendly. And I happen to be reading this article that says, get your glasses. New stoves that plugs into a normal wall's outlet could be major gain for health and climate. And I'm just going to read you some of the excerpts because, like I said, I know we're under time constraint. But I thought that this was very, very interesting because it's a cutting edge in innovations, and it begins by calling this guy's name. So Yaker was all in when he heard that a California startup called Copper that was manufacturing an electric stove and oven that could simply be plugged into a regular outlet. And those of us who know that the electric stoves, you had to have a 410, you had to bring in an electrician to change the plug, to change the wiring in the house. This particular type of innovation and stove, which they called I'll get to it later, an induction. They called it an induction stove. And you no longer have to have 240 volts to pull it. And the other thing about it is that it has great health benefits for cooking. Gas stove, which 47 million Americans use, relieve pollutants in the houses and nitrogen dioxide. In the case of gas stoves, about half of the flames that escape into the room. Electric stove, by comparison, can be up to 80% efficient. Of those, induction stoves come out top, up to about 90% efficient, in part because they only heat where the surface contacts the pot. The stove contains a battery that is smart, meaning it can charge up when electrical rates are low, allowing people to cook without incurring peak rate electrical charges. And if you remember, PG&E had a program that if you, as a family, if you decided to use, say, if you're going to wash, they want you to do it, or if you want to cook, they want you to do it before a certain hour. If not, then they would charge you peak rates. But with this induction stove, it's calibrated so that you can avoid having those peak rates on your electric bill. So I just thought that as a responsibility and as a climate health promoter, it's my responsibility to know some of the innovations in cutting edge technology and cutting edge equipment. Some of it could be cutting edge services that we may be privileged to know, and to be able to pass this information on to the communities, because we have a responsibility to be resilient, and we have a responsibility to help them sustain during this climate change. And things are going to change because the climate changes. So I just wanted to share this and I was thinking about Grid Alternative because I know they install appliances and things of that nature. So I think that we all should be able to benefit from this. Thank you.
Thanks, Curtis. Did I see a hand over here? Do you want to? No? Are you okay?
Gracias. Oh, sí. Disculpen por hablar en español. Sí, solo quería reafirmar lo que ya dijo Shito para el programa de VRX. Tenemos todavía 5 espacios para los promotores del cambio climático que vamos a comenzar en mayo 10. Los sigo invitando, motivando a que hagan extensa esta invitación con las personas que conozcan, que sepan que pueden formar parte del proyecto, así como acaba de mencionar Curtis, tenemos un buen compromiso de poder informarnos para poder tener justamente esa sostenibilidad que está buscando el proyecto. Entonces tenemos esos 15 espacios, me encantaría que lo siguieran teniendo en mente, ayudar a recomendarlo. Esta tercera generación ha sido un poco más complicada. Las personas dicen sí, pero a veces los horarios no se les acomodan y es difícil poner horarios para todos, pero vuelvo a invitarlos a que no se olviden que seguimos buscando 15 personas más interesadas. A diferencia del programa de los jóvenes, no tenemos límite de edad, desde de 16 en adelante, pero claro, nos encantaría tener una generación mixta, jóvenes, medios jóvenes, no tan jóvenes, y personas con experiencia también. Ujú. Gracias.
Thanks, Irma. Any other announcements, general announcements that we're missing? Okay, I see no hands, so I am adjourning the meeting at 7:48. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we're here in case there are additional questions or conversations that you want to have with the partners or with Matthias or myself. So thank you so much for joining us.